everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I thought we would get nice and cozy. I've got my cup of tea here, Rosie's literally just curled up enjoying me. I've asked people on my TikTok and Instagram for questions, so I thought we could just go through them and answer them. So I'm kind of glad that people gave me like more deep questions, because I feel like the day-to-day stuff, like the boring stuff, is like, how old are you? So like quick rundown of those questions. I'm currently 21, I live in Surrey. I currently am a beautician / tech nail tech, but as of the 8th of Jan I'm starting a new job, which is social media and content executive, and I'm going to be working up in the big city. I can't wait. I live with my mum, I have 2 cats, I'm trying to think what else. I've got a lovely boyfriend called Henry, who you will have seen on my channel. I'm trying to think what other like questions are like the basics, do you know what I mean? If you can think of any like of the smaller ones, let me know and I'll literally just answer them in the comments. But I don't know which one to start off with. I'm gonna go for what's one thing you regret or wish you did. And I like this because I think it's okay to say that you regret stuff. Like, you can't change the past, so obviously it's not worth getting super down about, but as long as you don't let like the regret consume you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't change it, it's out of your control now. So just be like, okay, learn a lesson from the regret rather than just like dwell on it. But something I regret or wish I did sooner would be, I guess, without sounding really cliche, like I am grateful for the person I was when I was younger, but I'm glad that I'm the person I am now, if that makes sense. But I guess the only thing would be like, I regret not gaining more confidence sooner, or I regret not caring so much what people thought when I was back at school, because I feel like my whole school experience would have been so different. But then you can't really change much. No one else would have been doing self-work either back in secondary school, so it, like, although I might have been a certain way, the whole environment around me would still have been the same. So I guess it's just a given, like everyone's shy and insecure and timid at school, most people anyway. I am so glad that I've started kind of like my social media journey, as it's something that I absolutely love and enjoy, and I'd say I wish I did that sooner. But again, going back to it, I don't think I personally would have been able to handle people saying stuff about me back when I was at school, which is when I originally wanted to start, like the same as so many people. But I don't think I personally would have been able to handle people making comments, people saying names, people taking the mick out of me. Like, I wouldn't have been able to handle that back at school. So although I wish I started this sooner, the timing just works. I'm in a place where I don't particularly care what people think of me. The people that are super close to me and the people whose opinion I do care about are all super supportive, so which I wouldn't have been able to say 5 years ago. I don't know, everything happens for a reason, but I do think even just this social media stuff, if I'd have done that at the beginning of lockdown, or like when I turned 19, that's one thing I regret was not doing, was potentially doing this sooner. My friend says to slay or not to slay. I'm not sure on that one. And then she then said, kidding, what's your favourite experience you've had? I have to say, when I went to Cornwall with Henry, that just felt, I don't know how to describe it, it just felt like a dream. Like, I loved it so much and we got along so well. I felt like we were in the honeymoon phase again. Yeah, I really loved going to Cornwall, and that's actually a vlog on my channel if you want to go and watch that. What else? Favourite experience other than Cornwall? New York. I went to New York in April and it was just magical. Like, I'd describe New York as magical, I'd describe Cornwall as magical. It's these little trips I'm going on. Hi Rose. Yeah, maybe that's my sign to go on more trips, because they're kind of what I look back and like really smile on. So how do you keep drama free? And that's come from one of my clients, and she knows me very well because she'll be telling me all this stuff that's going on with her and her friends, And I just like, I live through my clients currently because my life is so drama free that I just hear their drama and their gossip and I'm like, oh my god, like, because I don't have that. Obviously I have my moments where someone's annoyed me or I'm wound up and I probably say things I don't mean, because let's be real, like everyone does that. But to stay drama free, I think just don't be petty. Like, I know some people really advocate for being petty, but I just don't see the point. Like, if you are upset about something, just talk to them, and talk to them in a way that you'd like to be spoken to. So don't be super patronising, and don't say it in a super condescending and like semi-aggressive way, because like, where's that going to get you? They're just going to get defensive and then you're not listening to each other. It's like, if there is a situation, just talk about it and learn when to kind of step away from the situation and go back to it at another date. So say if me and Henry aren't agreeing on something, just kind of be like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And then maybe a few days later, you can be like, oh, I actually didn't really like when you said that. Like, I know you didn't mean it to come across that way, but... And just kind of talk it out, because talking literally fixes everything. Like, I cannot explain that enough. Talking literally fixes everything. But also be aware, if that other person isn't willing to hear you out at all, then just don't waste your time. Assess the situations, let like the tension cool down, and then just talk stuff out. I feel like that's the way to avoid drama, because then you don't have the whole like, she said this and she said this and she did that and she met up with that boy and like, it just gets like catty and school like. So I personally would, if something's upset you, even once you've calmed down about the situation, then talk to them. But like, saying stuff in the heat of the moment is literally just gonna fuck you over. Journaling tips. 2 people said journaling tips. So obviously I've got a video on my channel of like how I journal. I personally do it in the evening, because sometimes in the morning I feel like I don't have anything to say. Maybe that's because I journal in the evening, so by the time I wake up I'm like, I've said everything last night. But I don't know, I feel like getting it off my brain before I go to bed is like a good way for me to... I sleep pretty well, I have to say, so maybe it's because of that. Don't do it when you don't feel like it, because then it just becomes a chore and you're like, oh, I'm just CBA. If you're new to it, then maybe do some prompts, or I just love a big old brain dump, saying anything I want to say, closing it off when it feels right. Like, I don't force myself to do it, because I feel like when you force yourself, it's not fun. But I think as well, to get into it, put time aside, because if you're just like, oh, I'll do it before I go to bed, no, you're going to be scrolling on your phone. Simple as, like, you're not going to do it. Someone else said manifesting tips, and I don't know, I don't really have rhyme and reason. I wouldn't say I actually manifest that much, but when I do, I find the scripting technique works for me. You write in the past tense, so as if it's already happened. So you're like, I went to work today and it was my dream job at Pretty Little Thing or Boohoo or ASOS, or I've just come back from a commute in London. If I was doing my job, like manifesting my job that I'm starting in Jan. I used to really like the 369 method, but the only thing is I do it for stuff that I was kind of desperate for, and I don't necessarily think that's maybe the right way of doing it. Like, I only ever use that method if I was in like desperate times and I really, really wanted something. Another tip I'd say would, when you're writing about it, try and imagine the feeling that you'd feel when you're writing about what you want. Really random, the Apple headphones, because who doesn't want them? But it's like, I'd be writing in my thing like, oh, currently writing this with my Apple AirPods in, and I'd be like, oh, I'd feel really cool, and I can imagine this like excited feeling like of me opening them and stuff. So you've got to try and like picture what emotion you'd feel and like put it to the page. What would you say to 18-year-old you? My instinct was to say like, be kinder to yourself, but I'd say I'm meaner to myself now than I was back when I was 18. Like, and that makes no sense. The cliche, but I'd say try not to care so much. Stand up for yourself more. That was a big thing. I never stood up for myself, ever. Don't beg. Like, I beg to be invited to stuff. Like, I'd beg to keep friends. Like, I'd beg to meet up with someone. Like, it was just embarrassing looking back. It's like, get a grip. they clearly don't care about you, just skedaddle. 18, what was I doing at 18? Just like enjoy life as well, like don't take it so seriously. A lot of things obviously have changed, like obviously I'd have chosen to spend more time with my nan before she passed, but obviously you can't predict when people are gonna pass away, do you know what I mean? So I don't know, but it kind of goes back, like I don't regret anything because it's made me the person I am, and I don't have a magic ball and I can't see into the future, so you just do your best in that moment, I guess. What are your main life goals you want to accomplish before you turn 30? I would love to have purchased my own place, because growing up we moved around a lot. Even before my parents split up, like we'd move around a lot, and the longest I've ever lived somewhere, which is still a long time, and I'm not saying this is like a bad thing, and like I didn't have like a bad traumatic childhood, but we moved around, like I've probably lived in over 10 different houses, and like the longest I lived in one place was like 3.5 years, and we've rented a lot and stuff like that, so I feel like I'd love just to have my own place and to be like really settled there and put my own touch on it. Because as well, like I've never been able to, well, not for a long time anyway, I've not painted a room. Like this wall, obviously it's green, but I didn't pick this, like we rent this place. So, and I really want to hang stuff up and I'm not able to, like, come on, stripping it all. But just to be able to like knock a hammer and a nail and be able to actually hang something up and be able to mount a TV onto the wall, like to have my own place would just be incredible. I'm with my boyfriend and we're planning on eventually getting somewhere together, and I feel like even in that sense, just having, although it would be 50-50, I feel like just having one room that I could just decorate exactly how I wanted, like almost like a little girl den. He can have his own little boy den, but I want a girl den, and like just decorate exactly however I fucking want. I feel like that would just bring me so much joy and so much satisfaction. By 30, I'd love to be semi-mentally stable. Is anyone ever mentally stable? I'm not sure, but I'd love to have myself figured out, or like the mental side of me figured out in terms of like why I am the way I am and why I react to stuff in certain ways, and what are my triggers and stuff. Like I'd love to learn more about myself for when I go into my 30s. It's only 8 years away, guys. That's fucking scary. I know that's still ages, but still. I would love to be married, but then I'm not in a rush. Like I know that the order of the way I want to do stuff, like I would love to get engaged and get married then have kids, but I don't kind of have like a time frame on it, because I think as soon as you do that, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. And like you just don't know what happens in life, do you? Like you cannot predict anything. So what's the point of me like super stressing myself out with a timeline? I say that and I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do for 30. I feel super distracted now. My mum just rang me, the camera kept falling over. It's a hot mess. So on that note, I think I am gonna call it quits. Like, comment and subscribe and follow my other socials if you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.